Welcome to the Frost Sullivan Growth Podcast. What happens to leftover paint once a renovation, construction project, or industrial application is complete? For years, the answer has often been disposal. But that model is beginning to change. Across the paints and coatings industry, growing sustainability commitments, extended producer responsibility programs, and circular economy strategies are changing how organizations think about paint at the end of its useful life. Paint recycling is increasingly becoming part of a much bigger conversation about resource recovery, product design, stewardship, and circularity. Let's begin with the broader shift. Paint recycling isn't necessarily a new concept. What's changing now that is making it more strategically important for the coatings industry?
What's changing is the way the industry approaches the entire life cycle of paint. Historically, recycling efforts tended to be fragmented and locally managed. Today, sustainability commitments, landfill diversion targets, and extended producer responsibility, or EPR programs, are encouraging manufacturers to think beyond the point of sale. That means asking, how is leftover paint collected? Can it be reused or remanufactured? Can valuable materials be recovered? And importantly, who is responsible for making that system work? We're seeing paint recycling evolve from an end-of-life waste issue into a broader circular economy strategy.
So the real transformation isn't simply about recycling more paint. It's about redesigning the system around it.
Exactly. Circularity requires thinking about product design, collection, recovery, regulation, and collaboration as interconnected parts of the same ecosystem.
That brings us to stewardship. Your analysis highlights centralized stewardship models as an important part of scaling paint recycling. Why are they so critical?
Because recycling only works effectively when you have enough material moving consistently through the system. Centralized stewardship programs coordinate manufacturers, retailers, collection points, recyclers, logistics providers, and policymakers around common processes. That helps standardize collection and sorting while creating a more reliable supply of recyclable paint. And we've already seen models demonstrating how this can work. Programs such as Paint Care, alongside initiatives such as Earth Paint and Community Repaint, illustrate different ways of collecting, remanufacturing, redistributing, and recovering leftover paint.
So collection infrastructure may sound operational, but it's actually one of the biggest strategic pieces of the puzzle.
Absolutely. You can have excellent recycling technology, but without accessible collection points, efficient logistics, consistent sorting, and sufficient feedstock, it becomes very difficult to achieve scale.
Let's talk about where the industry is seeing the strongest opportunity today. Are all paints equally recyclable?
Not yet. Architectural water-based paints currently offer the greatest recycling opportunity because they're available in relatively high post-consumer volumes and have simpler chemistries compared with many industrial coatings. That makes collection, sorting, blending, and remanufacturing more commercially viable. This is also where established stewardship programs can make a significant difference because they create predictable collection channels.
So architectural paints are essentially providing the foundation on which the industry can build more sophisticated recycling models.
That's right. And the lessons learned from architectural paint recycling can help inform how the industry approaches more technically challenging segments in the future.
And that's where industrial and specialty coatings come in. Why are these segments more difficult to recycle?
Their chemistry is much more complex. Industrial and specialty coatings are engineered for very specific performance requirements, which makes recovery and reuse more challenging. But that's also where we see an important innovation opportunity. Advances in chemical recycling, solvent recovery, separation technologies, and application-specific processing could help recover greater value from these waste streams. Organizations investing in pilot programs and collaborative research today could help expand circularity well beyond architectural coatings.
So technology could potentially open an entirely new pool of recyclable materials.
Yes, but technology alone won't solve the challenge. It needs to be supported by collection infrastructure, consistent feedstock, and collaboration across the value chain.
Collaboration keeps coming up in this conversation. Who actually needs to be at the table for paint recycling to scale?
Almost everyone across the ecosystem. Paint manufacturers, stewardship organizations, retailers, collectors, recyclers, processors. logistics providers, and policymakers all have a role. We're seeing the industry move away from isolated relationships toward more integrated partnerships. For example, stakeholders can collaborate on collection standards, sorting processes, infrastructure investments, and material recovery pathways. The more coordinated the ecosystem becomes, the easier it is to improve feedstock availability, reduce inefficiencies, and create viable recycling models.
So, circularity isn't something one manufacturer can achieve independently.
Exactly. It's fundamentally an ecosystem challenge, and therefore an ecosystem opportunity.
Let's bring regulation into the conversation. EPR legislation and circular economy policies are expanding, particularly across Europe and North America. Should manufacturers see this primarily as another compliance obligation?
Compliance is certainly part of it, but there's a larger strategic opportunity. EPR programs are pushing manufacturers to take greater responsibility for what happens to their products after use. That encourages companies to rethink product design, collection systems, packaging, recycling partnerships, and even their broader business models. Organizations that anticipate these changes, rather than simply react to them, can strengthen sustainability performance and potentially build greater trust with customers and stakeholders.
Let's finish with perhaps the biggest question. If the technologies exist and regulation is moving in the right direction, what ultimately determines whether paint recycling becomes commercially scalable?
Economic viability depends on the entire system working together. You need reliable volumes of recyclable paint. You need accessible collection networks. You need standardized sorting and processing. You need technology capable of recovering useful material. And you need stakeholders willing to participate over the long term. Experiences from established stewardship programs suggest that centralized governance, stable collection infrastructure, and consistent industry collaboration can deliver stronger outcomes than isolated recycling initiatives. The organizations that recognize this will increasingly view paint recycling not simply as waste management, but as part of a circular business model.
That's a great point to end on. Paint recycling is entering a new phase, one shaped by stewardship, circular product design, advanced recycling technologies, evolving regulation, and deeper collaboration across the coatings value chain. For industry leaders, the opportunity is to move beyond fragmented recycling initiatives and build scalable circular systems that improve resource efficiency while creating long-term business value. That's all for this episode of Frost & Sullivan's Growth Podcast. For deeper analysis, research insights, and strategic frameworks shaping future growth, explore our studies and resources at frost.com or reach out to our team at hello@frost.com. We'll be back soon with more perspectives to help you stay clear-headed and growth-ready.